Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm talking about Uranus conjunct to Pluto in Synastry. This video was requested, and because these are outer planets, it's not talked about as much, and it's only going to be significant with an age gap. The generational planets in aspect to each other don't really matter if you're born in the same generation, right? But a lot of relationships, there is a difference in age and a difference in these generational planets. And that's where we can get some fun aspects like this Uranus conjunct Pluto. So I'm excited to talk about this. I have experienced this in Synastry, and actually, I've been experiencing Pluto conjunct Uranus in transit for the past year or so, however long Pluto's been going in and out of Aquarius. I actually have it right now. So, yeah, my experience of that transit maybe can help a little bit with this description, but I'll mostly refer to just, yeah, the synastry of this aspect because it is a really exciting one. So, the Uranus person seems like to the Pluto person a rebel. And that's going to be the case for Uranus being conjunct to any of the other outer planets, is that the Uranus person, there's something about them that the Pluto person definitely perceives as like out there, or they see them as kind of this Aquarian, like not giving an F person. Like yeah, they definitely have a rebellious or eccentric quality that actually, with this conjunction, the Pluto person finds very freeing. They can really feel like the Uranus person is someone who can free them from their existing circumstance, their compulsive energy, even their sexuality. This is actually a very sexual um, aspect to have. So the Pluto person really sees the Uranus person as like this embodiment of freedom. Now, the freedom is going to be characterized by the sign though that this is taking place in. So like, for example, Pluto in Scorpio conjunct to Uranus in Scorpio, that's how I've experienced it. The Pluto person perceives the Uranus person as someone who's kind of sexually free or emotionally very intense, but definitely having a more eccentric energy of Scorpio, right? So it can be to do with sex, death, financial things, everything related to Scorpio in the eighth house, if this is occurring in Scorpio or the eighth house. Now, if this is occurring in different signs, it's going to be, that element of freedom is like related to the sign. So wherever our Uranus is placed in our natal chart shows where we really feel that freedom energy coming through. That's the energy where we just, we don't follow the status quo. We go to the beat of our own drum, right? So wherever Uranus is placed, that's how we react, right? So yeah, so you can look at in any of the signs how this would feel, right? And the Pluto person really gets this opportunity to like free themselves from this inhibiting energy of their Pluto. And the interesting thing about Pluto here is that Pluto likes this because Uranus and Pluto both represent transformation in a way, right? Uranus is more like liberation from the known and into, the unknown, and like not as much emotional transformation, like whereas Pluto is more like the rebirth and like, the deaths and rebirths and more emotional things and sexual things, right? So they both kind of have an affinity though for these transformations and this freedom energy. And so, yeah, the Pluto person can really feel liberated by the Uranus person's presence. Now, they might also feel that maybe they're a bit too rebellious or they're hard to pin down because Uranus here is still going to act like Uranus. Uranus might be there one day and gone the next. So you'll have to look at the rest of the synastry like if it's actually compatible, if there's other, more binding contacts, because this one alone, it doesn't show that there's any need or desire to commit. It's not Saturn, but yeah, it can definitely be a very liberating or awakening aspect to see in your synastry. So the Pluto person, yeah, can definitely feel like the Uranus person is a bit flaky. They could even actually be like flaked on or ditched or yeah, like I said, the Uranus person is there one day and gone the next. But usually, this, even like in that situation, the Pluto person still is able to like be freed by the Uranus person. Maybe they're just freed by them, right? And they're not going to end up being in a relationship with them. But they still get this opportunity for like an awakening. So, like the Pluto and Scorpio generation, it is about letting go. It's about, not being so codependent and like needy and like sexually obsessed with people, right? And, the Pluto and Libra generation is more of like a codependency that they're being freed of, or, the Pluto and Virgo generation is kind of all OCD and like can show a lot of mental patterns or physical body stuff based on worry and like so each Pluto sign, like I said, you have to look at the sign that this is occurring in. They're getting an opportunity to be liberated from the confines of that energy, which, Pluto wants that. Pluto wants to go through a death and rebirth in that sign. And the Uranus person can really be the vessel, even if this is a short term thing, but especially if this is a long term thing, to help them do that. And they also can be given wisdom from the Uranus person. The higher aspect of Uranus is wisdom. And so they can really end up becoming wiser, becoming better, becoming stronger, becoming, yeah, just more free in every level from this relationship. And the Uranus person, I've talked a lot about the Pluto person. The Uranus person can be very fascinated by the Pluto person because they see them as representing a power in, that energy of their Uranus. Now, they might have a bit more of a push-pull reaction to the Pluto person in that they might feel like the Pluto person is clingy or needy or holding on too tight to them, or they could see them as overly emotional, but they're still very attracted because the Pluto person in the Pluto synastry does usually have a level of power over the others. So the Uranus person senses the Pluto's power. They sense that maybe, they even have some sort of resources or emotional depth or something that can deepen their understanding of their Uranus placement, their sign, and they even can be liberated as well because of Pluto's influence, and they can definitely see the Pluto person as like an asset or something of value, something they want because it can help them be more of themselves too. So the Uranus person can sense that the Pluto person can help them be a more authentic version of themselves because the Pluto person really sees them for that rebelliousness that they might not even realize that they have, right? Because it's not that we like consciously mean to express our Uranus placement. So the Pluto person is shining a light on the Uranus person's individuality, rebelliousness, eccentricness. And so the Uranus person really feels seen, and they really feel like the Pluto person is intense and has this like probing effect on them. Like they'll feel very seen. They might feel seen a little too much by the Pluto person, that it's like invasive, like all eyes on them, but they can also be very attracted to them and sensing this power that the Pluto person will have on them, that like this is a major transformative contact. And there is this like revolutionary sexual aspect to this where it's like we get the sense that and the sex can be this awakening experience or this freeing experience. Now, this conjunction is not going to show sexual compatibility. We have to look at Venus and Mars for that. And, the other sexual synastry aspects that you may have. But if you do have this aspect with other compatible sexual aspects in your synastry, it's going to show that sexually you're able to use each other, as bad as that sounds, as a vessel for freedom and awakening and liberation. And so you could also see like your attitudes about sex and, the eighth house kind of energies going through a sort of upheaval or transformation. And so this is definitely one of those aspects that you'll see, a major transformation happen in both people. Now, Uranus can also represent astrology. So this aspect could really show that if you're an astrologer and you have this aspect in your synastry, it's helping you with your study. It's helping you, learn about astrology from a deeper level. Uranus conjunct Pluto, I feel like if you had this in natal too, it would really show, giftedness for astrology. So I think that whatever you're learning from this relationship, if you have it in synastry with someone, it's going to help your astrology career or work, or even if it's just self-study, it's going to help you gain awareness. And not just astrology, but also human psychology, an understanding of, humanity and what its needs are, what like collectively the planet is going through. There's a very universal energy to this conjunction as well. We have the 11th house connotation, it's kind of like an 11th, 8th energy, right? So you can definitely gain a lot of wisdom from this. The wisdom is going to come like a sudden, shocking lightning bolt. Uranus is never subtle. So it's kind of like a sudden, shocking, lightning bolt relationship. And so it can be very attractive and very liberating. It's not as much toxicity as like other Pluto conjunctions can be, because like I said, they take this one very well. Uranus and Pluto. It's like they both kind of like each other. They like the transformation that this brings. It's very liberating. And the Uranus person, probably more than many people or anybody, can really shake up the Pluto person. And like, I'm just imagining like they're shaking them and all the fears are dropping away, all the sexual inhibitions or worries or financial fears are just going out of them. And that could be very healing. And at the same time, the Pluto person is giving the Uranus person a sense of their own power, their own unique individuality. And, they can really feel seen and accepted, and in turn become more authentic, become more of who they truly are at the Uranus level. So it's a really interesting synastry aspect to see. I think it would be really good for two people who, if it was a business partnership, you're working on something, psychology, astrology, human understanding, like what is going on with humans in their, emotions and their physical body, or, some type of healing work, healing humanity. I think this would be good for that. But there could definitely be like some genius inventions coming through with this conjunction. And if you're living this in transit, I do think that it's a really innovative time for sure. So I'd love to know your experience of this aspect. If you've had it in synastry, what was it like? Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for your requests. Keep them coming, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye.